Hello, welcome to the Teacher Toolkit Series. Today, the topic we're going to be dealing with is how to flip your classroom. I particularly like this teaching strategy because you can use it in person and also with technology. What I mean by that is that there are some schools that might not have the technology as far as having one-to-one laptops or phones or um, having iPads or anything like that. So you might want to front load your students a week before so that they can participate in this very helpful strategy for teaching. Now, the reason why I really like this is because it frees your students to work on basic skills at home at their own pace, and you can extend their learning in the classroom when they come with higher order thinking skills and developing their ability to answer higher learning questions. So let's get to this straight away. It's a really fun activity. So there are certain things that you need to decide first of all, okay, or certain things you need to know. First, you have to decide which platform or what delivery system you're going to use. Are you going to do this in person, or are your students going to flip their learning online using technology? You have to decide on the activities you'll have with your students, how they're going to interact with the materials that you're going to give to them, and then how are you going to review with your students? What are they going to do so that they will know that they have learned the material, and you will also know what they have learned and probably be able to spot the problem areas in their course of learning by themselves. And then finally, the extension. What are you going to do with them in the classroom when they come back to you? Okay, so this format here really works in that the teacher is able to see several things on a broad scope with the student, but the student, the great thing is on the flip side, the student's able to work at their own pace, and it helps them to really focus and narrow in on the problems that they might have with the material and ask specific questions. Okay, now there might be some students who might not do the material. Yes, we know that. However, for the majority of the time, most students will do what they're supposed to do. Now, if your student has difficulty completing the work, the student has to finish platform activity and review part of this lesson before they can participate in the extension part. If the student jumps in thinking that they can just do the extension part of the lesson, it's going to fall apart. So you have to stress it for the students that they must do the other parts by themselves first before you can allow them to participate in the extension activities. Okay, so moving right along. Certain things you need to decide. Are you going to be teaching with technology or without technology? If you're going to be teaching without technology, you have to distribute the articles ahead of time. You have to, the students will have to write a summary. They have to know that. You have to tell them what kind of quizzes that they're going to have prior to, whether they're going to have project-based learning in person. And so the students are going to have to do a lot of things by themselves initially. And when they come to you in person, you have to make sure that you do not go back. You absolutely cannot go back to the articles that they should have read, going back to the summary or to the quizzes. No, you cannot, because the function of you having them in your classroom at the end is for you guys to extend the learning. Same thing with technology. You can use videos that are found online, or you can create your own videos. You can make sure that these videos are self-paced, so you can embed pauses or stops in the video so your students can take notes while they're watching the videos. You'll provide some knowledge checks along the way, as well as a discussion board so that the students will be able to share their understanding of the topic and give you some kind of feedback. Now, what will you do on the next day when they come to you for the extension? What you could do there is that you can actually extend their learning where it is that they have some kind of interactive activity, some higher level reading activity. They can have a practice activity, or you can do some kind of extension with your students in the classroom on the following day. So there's a lesson plan format for that as well, which is shown here. This is my sample. Put your subject, your class, your learning target, which is very, very important for you to identify. Where I have AKS, maybe in your school, what you had is the standard or the objective. And so you have to state that very clearly as well. On the left side, you'll see a myriad of materials that I'm going to use. The platform I'm going to use will be maybe quizzes, Quizlet, Google Classroom, eClass, Flipgrid, Prezi Video, whichever, Gmeet or Zoom. And then over here on the QTPS, those are the quality teaching practices that I will have. So I want to identify which part of cognition I am engaging for the student. Is it prior knowledge? Am I engaging them to question something? So I want to put those things on that side. Then the next part for the activity, how the students will engage or interact with the material. Are they going to be comparing or contrasting? Are they going to be problem solving? So those will be the teaching strategies I put on that side. But what is the student going to use? Are they going to use a graphic organizer? Do I have that embedded in the work? Are they going to have notes? Are they going to use a worksheet? What are they going to do? Will they go to another website? All those kinds of things. So I just have to check off what I'm going to do. And it doesn't have to be all of them. One or two is sufficient. Then the review. So I want to find out that my students know what it is that they have learned. I want them to ask questions. So I could put a discussion post and I could also put a quiz. Or maybe I could use Jamboard, which is an extension of Google. There's so many things that I can put on there. And then finally, when they come back to the classroom, I will do an extension. As I said before, we can do some extension questions. We can do some higher order reading or activities. We can do a practice activity. We can do an interactive activity, which will be based on what it is they already know. But again, the student cannot participate in the extension if they have not gone through the first three parts. They must have seen whatever the other material was. They must have learned some things on their own. Now, if the student comes to the classroom and they're struggling with it, okay, I will have been able to identify that through the review that the students would have done so that I can prepare adequately for that student when we meet again in the classroom. But I will not be going all the way back to teaching the material all over again. It will just be to address those areas that the student might have had problems with. So that's why it's important that your students actually follow through with what they're supposed to do. I hope this has been helpful to you. And I hope that you experience some great success with it. If you have any questions, my information is right here. Please contact me on Instagram or my email. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please leave some comments below. Appreciate you. See you next time.